So welcome to the Grand Potential. We are so excited today. We have Terra Bohlmann, who is an absolute specialist. She is a business strategist and creator of an amazing process called the Business Map Method. She's crafted over 158 custom business models for her clients, and she is all about systems. So we are so excited to learn from Terra today. Terra, welcome to the Grand Potential. We're so happy to have you here.
Thank you so much, ladies, for having me on. I'm so excited. Been looking forward to recording this with you.
Great. Thank you. So we're going to go through 3 steps, Terra, and it really is related to our core values with the Grand Connection, which is our virtual networking community. So they are connect, the second one is create, and the third being collaborate. So I'm going to visit the concept and value of connect. Now, I'm curious, how did you, along your path of business, connect to these principles and concepts of the business method and crafting all these amazing customized business models for your clients?
Great question. I've never been asked this question, so it's a fantastic question. So, in my journey, I come from the corporate world. So, I actually have a degree in like computer science and business, if you can believe that. And then I went and did that for a while and became a programmer and then a business analyst. And then I went into consulting and I was consulting for Fortune 500 companies. And I really loved it. I'm just now, I'm like one of these people that will go read, Business Week and Fortune and Inc. for fun, like rather than other magazines. I'm obsessed with business. And what I realized once I just got to a point where getting up for work every day just wasn't good. Like I just wasn't passionate about it. And I was doing a lot of consulting in the oil and gas sector and whatnot. And I always told myself, we get to create our own life. So if I ever wake up 3 days in a row, this is my system, my mental system. If I ever woke up 3 work days in a row where I didn't enjoy or I dreaded going to work, then it was my responsibility to do something about it. And I had my third day and ended up saying, okay, so I'm going to make a shift and put together a plan to transition out of the corporate world and into starting my own thing. So I went part time. I asked to go part time and I asked to go contract. And my CEO was like, "Are you kidding me? Like what? Like what?" And then it allowed me. She let me, but it allowed me to be choosy on the projects because I knew I needed to get some more skill sets before I went full in with my business. I knew how to upsell, but I didn't know how to generate leads. So I wanted to do some projects. We were doing some stuff with Salesforce.com implementations. And what better way to learn sales than actually do these implementations where, the process is already very fleshed out. So I did some of that, like corporate consulting as contractor. And then I moved into doing what I wanted to do, which was my practice business, right? We talk about potential, and it's like sometimes we have a practice business. And my practice business found me because someone said, "Oh, Tara, if you're going to do this, you need a website." So I said, "Oh, okay." Knowing enough to be dangerous, I went and created my own website. And then people would go, "Who did your website?" And I'm like, "I did." "Well, will you do mine?" I'm like, "Sure." Like, "How much?" I'm like, well, it started like $500. Then it was like $1,000. So next thing I knew, I had a website design business, which had nothing to do with what I knew I really wanted to do. I knew I wanted to serve women, but definitely not in the website design business. So then I had about a team of 12 over in the Philippines. I rehomed all my Filipino workers and was like, okay, it's time to get really clear on what I want to do. And people, I was in a bunch of networking organizations and groups, and I would say, well, this is what I want to do. I just want to help serve women. I loved mentoring women in consulting. They're like, well, sounds like you want to be a business coach. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. This was 10 years ago. It wasn't so popular back then. And I was like, that doesn't quite sound, and then finally I'd be like, no, I just really want to help them take their business and scale it to the next level. Oh, you want to be a business coach? So finally, after a month of hearing this over and over, I knew I was like, okay, I'm going to open a business coaching firm and do this. So it kind of found me.
Well, and I think, your willingness to be open to what that would be was really fascinating. And once you heard it again and again and again, it's like, okay, yes, I hear you. This is the path I'm going to go down. Yet you were successful with the business the business development and also the website design. Yet you knew within yourself that that was not your niche. You
Yeah.
knew that that was not the clear path that you wanted to pursue. When did you realize that which path you wanted to go down? Because I think this will be interesting to our
Mhm.
readers, because they may be, or listeners, they may be in a certain position along that pathway.
Yeah.
So,
Great question. So for me, it was I so I knew I wanted to be a business coach. So I did what you have to do when you start out in any type of coaching or service-based business. I went and got clients. So I did. My goal was, I wanted to have that six-figure coaching business my first year. So I just went and did, my lead generation and had 30 clients a month. So this is what I built for myself. So I had within probably 6 months, 30 clients on my roster where I coached them one-on-one. And and then I did that for a while and I was like, okay, I learned a lot about what women struggle with and got really good at it. But it also became the same conversations over and over. So after I did one-on-one business coaching, I was like, all right, well, I didn't know I didn't know I was gonna exchange 40, 50 hours a week from a corporate standpoint into 48 to 50 hours a week on the phone all the time coaching. So I was like, I don't know if this is for me. And I really started to have that identity crisis, like a lot of us do. And like, should I just go back and beg for my old job back? Should I polish the resume? Like, this isn't what I thought it was. And while it was quote unquote successful, there's a difference between making a, you know, middle six-figure salary versus a six-figure business because we have the expenses that we had to pay out and stuff. And I'm like, I don't know, like this was, and I was constantly having to do lead gen and sales conversions because I was like super nice in my coaching. I didn't have contracts. I didn't. It was kind of month to month. It was low cost, high volume. So if three people would roll off, I needed to replace the three people type of thing. And it just got taxing and daunting after a few years. So I was thinking about going back to corporate, and my my husband, I think he saw me like doing the struggle and was just like, oh man, like, you just go back. Like, why don't you go back to corporate? And, I was like, yeah, I don't know if I'm done with this yet. But maybe you're right. And we were going back and forth. We were actually seeing a therapist and she said, you guys are going on this trip. We were going on an anniversary trip to Thailand. She's like, why don't you go on your trip, relax, and don't talk about it, and then come back and figure it out. You guys need some downtime. So I was like, okay. So we went, and of course, when you go on vacation, you relax. And then we just start talking. And we just really, I had so much clarity around wanting to, like, I felt like I learned a ton coaching so many people one on one, but I needed to scale it. So I was like, that was my big aha to say, I need to be my own best client. I'm going to sit down when I get back. I'm going to put together a plan and present it to my husband and say, like, this is where I can take this. And the when you're your own and you're in your business. So I really just kind of shifted my um mode of working and became like came home and just started doing sticky notes everywhere all over the wall and like really thinking, what could this be if I didn't have to be on the phone every day? And I put together the plan and presented it to him, and I had it binded and everything. It was printed at Kinko, all that stuff. And he's like, this is good. Like I can see this being something bigger. And I was like, oh my gosh, there it was. That was the very first business map, was my own. And then I knew there was a process that I'd used because I've done this kind of stuff in consulting for so long. And after that, I took that business map, my own, and I showed it to some friends and I said, I just did this for myself. And this is like such an aha. I just filled in all the gaps. And I'm like, do you want me to do this for you? And they're like, yeah. So I did a couple for free and they're like, oh my gosh. So then I showed it to a friend of mine and she goes, oh my gosh, Tara. And she had like $60,000 clients in a program she had. She goes, all of my high-end clients need this. Can I buy 10 of them? And I'm like, so my first real sell was like a bit, and I was like, she's like, how much? I don't know what I charged her, probably $1,000. That was kind of like my standard thing back then. And so I did 10 more and then automated the process more and just really just grew it. And now 158 as of Monday. And it's just been fantastic.
What a journey. And what I love is you went through it yourself.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
You know what? And people, this is the way business develops and grows.
Mhm.
And when you're in your lane, when you really live your true calling and serve in a way that is so meaningful, I mean, there is so much reward that you receive by supporting these people on this business roadmap. I know that, Terra. And rather than you're not thinking about going back to corporate anymore, are you?
Oh, no.
No.
That was 10 years ago. I can't even believe it. It feels like
I know.
yesterday. And
I
then
know.
once you get in, well, no, that was probably about 5 years ago. But once you get in your lane, it's just like, you could just look back and you're like, I blinked and now it's 5 years later. And I love what you said about, doing and following your own method. And I was my best client. I had to be, because if not, I was going to go back to corporate. And I've seen so many entrepreneurs that are great at helping others follow a method or helping others do what they know they need to do for themselves, and they don't. And I just say, please, like, if you're in that position where you say, oh, like the website designers who don't have websites, or the branding strategists who haven't worked on their own brand since the 90s or whatever, it's like, please stop. And you have to be your own best customer first, because it's just going to give you so much credibility, and your confidence skyrockets when you can follow your own method. Like it's
Can you
beautiful.
repeat that? That cut out just for a second there.
There's so much confidence that comes when you can use your own method.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
beautiful.
there is. And I also think it's truth. Like your method, the method, you
Mhm.
live it, you've gone through it. So for you to represent and guide and teach and mentor your clients and your
Yeah.
groups of women that you lead, it just is completely authentic and real, because you have created it. It's
Yeah.
yours. So the whole energy around that and the impact on other businesses is far reaching, I think, and can make that change and support them to feel more confident. It's just this incredible circle of energy. I love it. So you're really supporting them to release their fear, to build their confidence, to get organized, to get focused, to get systemized. I mean, incredible.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna pass this over to Susan. Thank you, Tara. And she's going to go
Carolyn.
through the whole element of creating. So
Yes.
our second value, create.
Love it.
And I've been just sitting on the edge of my seat waiting to talk to you, Tara. We're so thrilled to have you here with us and speaking to our group. My section is about create. And our theme right now for this series of podcasts is creating certainty in uncertain times. And the theme of a month coming up is on business systems, which we know you know so much about. And I feel that business systems itself gives us a little bit of that certainty in the uncertain times. If we have those systems in place and that foundation, we can have the freedom, the time, the ability to scale and jump. How do you see this, having business systems as part of the uncertainty in the world we're in right now?
Great question. Honestly, Susan, you hit it over the nail over the head, because when you do have systems in place, and systems, I mean, just to be clear, because some people are like, I'm not a systems person, or and they associate it with technology. And systems really they can be technology, but they could also be processes that are repeatable, like a checklist, and what I love about business systems is You create them once, and then your only job is to improve upon them, right? It's a global pandemic or a recession, is our brain starts to freak out. And we just start making up stuff in our head and we think, oh, we need to pivot or, we start getting shiny object syndrome. But with business systems in place, they're like your anchor, is the best way I can describe it. They're an anchor for you to just go, just keep working the plan, work the system, right? We don't need to do major shifts, but it becomes this like grounding for us because it gets really scary. And part of the reason why I do business maps is because I want to show entrepreneurs that you have an entire soup to nuts. I keep using all these metaphors today, but from beginning to end business model that when something and happens in uncertain times or whatever, you go back to basics. And that's what a business model is what's the basics of your entire business and how you make money and how you serve the world. So yeah, I mean, it's just business systems to me are everything. And it's the main thing that gets you from, startup, which is maybe a 0 to 100,000. Business systems are what get you to the 300,000 to multi-million dollar business model. If that's something that's interesting to you, business systems are where it's at.
And I know a lot of our audience, they're at that stage where they're saying, okay, how do I scale? How do I get to that next place? And this is why, this is just so important. What type of business systems do you see in a business? Like there's different areas. So I relate this to your business map because I know this is something that's so integral in what you do with your clients.
Yeah. So when I give a map, when I present them, usually people are just like, freaking out. Like they're just like, I feel like a legit CEO now. I'm like, you've always been a legit CEO. We just filled in the blanks and your confidence is now, you get it. You see the big picture, right? But then with the little steps that need to happen to implement those strategies. And when I think of business systems, I always like in the map, it's like, okay, yes, we wrote your professional bio, but it's a system because now I want you to chunk out that bio, put it in a PDF so that anytime anyone asks you for your headshot and your bio, you just send them that Google Drive link, or you just put it on your website and let them, give them the website link. Like everything you do, you can create a system around it.
You don't really think of that as a system. Right. But just your media kit, having that all prepared, or your speaker's kit, or as what do they call the podcast? There's a podcast one now that's out there that's your podcast speaker kit. Yes. Like if that's all together and organized, it's so fast. One of my biggest saving things for my business, you Carolyn and I resonate. You've gone through the web design business. That's what I'm still stuck doing. Been doing it for 15 years, and I do have systems in it, but you could always get more. Like I sort of get to this point where I look at something and I say, this isn't working. What can we do? What system can be put in place to make this work better? Or we have to do it differently. So let's say somebody comes in here and they're that first client and they say, I want to scale. I want to scale my business. I want to fast track it. Terra, you're the fast track queen. Mm-hmm. How do I do that? And what systems am I going to need to set up right now?
Yeah. So, I mean, my whole thing is what I do is create the strategy. So, and I have 2 tracks in order to do it. One, I have there's only 6 steps in the business map method. The first step is having your clear business foundations. Most entrepreneurs just fly through that, or they'll do some of it, but then later on, as they are scaling, they realize, ooh, something's off. And if you miss a step in your foundational strategy, it costs you a ton of time, energy, and money to go back and fix it. I learned that pretty quickly in doing some of the business coaching. There's a very logical way to build a business without having to stress out about it. Like they all build upon each other. So step 1 is your business foundation. That's like beyond your branding. It's your core values, your bio, who you are, what you do, who you serve, your strategic give back, which I'm super passionate about. All that basics that needs to happen, business operations. So once we go through that, then you go into developing we do your signature offers. What the heck do you sell and how much, right? A lot of people get stuck on what do I offer and is the price right? And then after that becomes, how do you sell it? So you have to have a customized sales process that works for you, because sales is not one size fits all, as you know, right? If you learn from someone who has a different style, you're going to not want to sell, and you're going to be resistant to it because it doesn't feel in alignment with your heart. So we have to dig in to find out how you best sell. Then of course you got to have your visibility. So now that you have a product, you know how to sell it. Well, how are people going to find out about you? So it's about doing a marketing plan. And then after that, it becomes great. And this is what we're going to talk about with your community, is the customer experience system, right? How do you onboard your new customers now that you've sold them something? How do you deliver? How do you wow them? And then how do you transition them once their terms of service is complete with you? And then lastly, it's about the dream team. Everything I build out is based on what it could look like, what it will look like in the next 5 years, because I believe in a 5-year plan. And your team needs to be part of that. And so even if you're solo right now, as you scale, you can add that virtual assistant. You can add that marketing person or social media person that's going to help you, or augment your team and stuff. But a lot of times when you get overwhelmed, we think we're just going to go hire somebody. And if you don't have your own business strategy like mapped out, then they're going to be completely confused or trying to fill in the gaps for you. And next thing you know, you have a Frankenstein business model that you're like, this isn't even me. So I want entrepreneurs to take the lead on it. And then, I take them through a process, either one of two ways. One, I have a done with you track, which, I give video training. They get a workbook, they fill out their workbook, send it to me. I actually give them video feedback, and they go back and then they keep doing all the 6 steps, right? And I give them a template that fits their industry, and then they can copy and paste based on what we've come together on their workbook. And then I have a done for you service, which is let my team, and I have a business analyst that works with me. She's amazing. And we just interview you 90 minutes. Like, most, they want to go fast. So it's like, all right, how much minimal time can I take? Give me 90 minutes and we'll interview you. And then we may do a gap analysis call, and then I can present your entire map. So 158 maps in, there's not a business an industry I haven't hit on, right? And there's some really unique ones that you would think, how can that be a business model? And they're rocking it, So, so to me, then the systems, once you have the plan, the systems are, to me, they're easy and fun. And it's like everything you do, if you have to do it more than twice, put a system around it. I know it sounds crazy, but that's how my brain works. And from the bio being one to your branding, is another system. Once, you've got all your brand elements, put them in a certain folder. And then if you hire a graphic artist, just give them access to that. Like, you don't have to send my logo. Here's my colors. No, just put it all in one system and give them access. And then obviously your marketing can be completely systematized, as well as your sales. And then your customer experience is one that's really can be systematized, right? We talk about certainty in uncertain times. I mean, people they want to know that once I give you my money, that you've got me. And there's predictability there with a little bit of wow. So all kinds of things. And even from a team perspective, you can systemize. And, I work with my clients to go in detail and kind of prioritize which systems we need to put in place quickly. But I use a tool called, I don't know if you're familiar with Monday.com, but Monday.com has just been an amazing tool that we've used in my company for the last year and a half, I think now. And it's a systems person's dream, because you can create all these systems with check boxes, and it just keeps you completely on track and be able to see and have a dashboard of what's going on with the day-to-day in your business.
I have not heard of Monday.com, and I am, as soon as we get off the call, I'm looking into it. It sounds
Awesome.
exciting, because, as you know, being with the web tech business, I know, looking for the tools. I am on that tool side of things. Is if there's a tool that can do it better, I'm checking it out at any rate. The one thing though I found though is that if I get a tool and I'm all like excited about it, but my team doesn't like it, the system doesn't work. Like I've had a challenge with, I have a team, they're offshore,
Mhm.
and I'm working long distance. This is like you with your web business. You had, what was it? 12 people in the
12 in the
Philippines?
Philippines. Yeah. And
Wow.
even in the
Yeah.
corporate world, I worked highly with, I mean, my first job at Accenture was like, here's your team of 70 employees over in India. Go make it
Yikes.
profitable, you know?
Yikes.
Yeah.
So, okay, speaking of team, and nowadays a lot of teams you're working remotely with people.
Yeah.
What kind of systems do you create to make this manageable?
Yeah. I mean, from a setup, like, if I want to get buy-in for using the tool, I'm going to have my top person or my project manager or whoever set up monday.com, or it's a specific, because it's broken into boards. So if I have a board that's customer delivery and you want to deliver, from a project management standpoint, you have all your clients with all their websites, and obviously you have a step-by-step. We got to do their home or their framework, or, do their, get the copy, the
Yeah.
graphics, do the homepage, and have the person who's responsible for all that build it out. And then they'll use it because they're really proud of it. So, but you can kind of keep a higher level. And then at any time you can log in and see, where are we on X client? Oh, okay, we're 80% completion, right? And it just gives you that, that peace of mind. And when I would have my team, not in my core business, because my team isn't huge and we're all on the same page, moving at the same goal and whatnot. But in the corporate world, we would get that all the time. Like, I'm not using it. And it's like, okay, you can do one of two things. You can give incentives to use it, right? And be like, oh, because you'll be able to see if they logged in or not, and give incentives. Or in a lot of cases, they would do like, it's a negative reinforcement, but it worked way more than even the positive carrot, is the wall of shame. Like, here, okay, I noticed you haven't logged in since 2 weeks ago. Why not? Or put where they have to do their time, manage their time within it, and they're going to log in because they want to get
Time
paid.
tracking is a tough one.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people, even independents, I'll meet people and say, I just don't track. I can't track my time. I can't, that's not in me. So, but everybody can track their time. It's creating that habit around it.
Yeah. I've always, in my own business, I prefer value-based pricing. So I always want, like, rather than time tracking, because I personally, and maybe it's just me, but I don't like to be surprised with invoices. So I'm like, okay, well, if we have this task, so to do a podcast, I have a podcast as well. And I say, don't charge me by that hour. My editor's in the Philippines, like, just chart. Most of my podcasts are 30 to 45 minutes. Give me a one price, right? So I know when I put that over the wall for him to edit, it's going to cost X dollars. So, so I'm more like, it doesn't bother me when you do it. As long as it's done and it's done timely, So I'm all about let's keep it easy and simple. But I hear you. Like, so many people, they just resist the time tracking. They resist it.
Well, you do need to know how long, like, now that you, like, your VA that's in the Philippines, he would have had to track time a little bit to be able to give that price, because you need to know how long something's going to take. And on average, it's going to be 8 hours to do this job. Yeah.
Yep.
So
you always start with time, and then I realize, oh, it takes them about an hour to do it, and I know what I pay them per hour.
yeah.
So
And when you're hiring people to do jobs outside, like, it's a good idea if you kind of have figured out how long these things should take too, so that what you're paying for is you're getting the value when it's fixed price on these kind of things.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So another thing that you've done in your big career of entrepreneurism, and going from corporate, which I know that you've probably learned a phenomenal amount on systems and everything. And then you went into coaching. You started out coaching one-to-one, and then you moved one-to-many. Tell me about that shift, because I know a lot of us are thinking, how do we leverage our time and take it to that next level?
Yeah. Good question. And it was one of these things I was pretty resistant on, because I thought, in my mind, I had made up my mind for I serve primarily women entrepreneurs, but they will only get the result if they work one-on-one versus in a group, only because I would join groups and I would get lost in the group. And I did so much better if I had that one-on-one. And it was really through a lot of personal development, honestly, of shifting my own mindset, that women entrepreneurs can get the exact same result. And I was tying my success too much to them doing the work and being successful. And, and it was like, it's really got core. I mean, we can get into like the psychology behind it, but I had this like repetitive thing in my whole life of like working with a high powered woman and attaching it. I mean, this started when I was in 16, my very first job. And it just continued to be a trend. Every time I'd get a job, I would meet some high powered woman or a woman who was higher up than me on the corporate ladder. And I would just work my butt off to make her look good and make her proud. And, so it was this need to be validated by a woman, probably, I mean, between us ladies, it's because I needed my mom to say, I'm proud of you, Tara. So it was just this like cycle I was in, and until even when I was an entrepreneur, I'd find a mentor and I would do it. And it was like, until I broke that cycle, I couldn't like understand that women entrepreneurs can get the result in a group. I mean, actually, there's more value to being a group if you position it right, because we've got the collaboration and the connections, right, ladies? It's like, it's invaluable. So it was really me having to get out of my own way and say, okay, this is how I can scale. I can serve more women. I can facilitate connections. And really, I learned just as much from them as they do from me. So it was really beautiful. And once I did my first, and I had to get away, and this is what we also have to clear out in our mind is not everyone will finish. Not everyone they'll come out hot at the gate in like a group setting, but then over time, naturally they drop off. And that's just, I think, a kind of a motivation thing. And that's why I'm getting my NLP certification actually this week. I'm leaving here after this interview to go wrap it up, because I wanted to understand the psychology behind why so many people say they want something and then they invest their hard-earned money in it and then they like quit.
I see you with the NLP, and people want things, people need things, but I also think it's along that path and journey that you were just suggesting. With it's your own personal experience that makes you understand or be willing to move out of your comfort zone, to stretch, to create this business method map and step up. People are ready or they're not. So I hear you. I think NLP is absolutely brilliant. I learned a lot of that in my 20s, which is a long time ago. And I really commend you to keep being a student.
Yeah,
and
always
learning and serving.
Yes. And one thing, I just wrote an Instagram post about this yesterday, but it's like a lot of the things is, we'll get down paths where we just get learning obsessed and we're not doing the work, or you're not taking the time to create the system. Right. And if you want to scale, we know business systems, I couldn't have a group if I didn't have repeatable systems. I couldn't, if I got to have an assistant that's able to do things and, all kinds of time savers and whatnot. But it's really one of these things that we can learn, but we don't want to like go down rabbit holes all the time, because we actually have to take action and make things happen in our business. So one strategy I've started probably about 3 years ago, because I was the person, I name a course, I've taken it, name a program, it doesn't mean I've finished it, but paid for it. But what I found was I was constantly marketers are good. And this because, NLP, they're really good at selling you the next thing and making you feel like if you don't know this, you're going to be behind, and you'll never be successful, which is such an eye roll, right? Because business is business and it's been done for hundreds and hundreds of years, and the foundation of business doesn't change. So what I do now is I pick one thing every year, just one thing that I'm going to better myself on. And this past year was, I need to focus in on helping on the mindset stuff. And that's what I focused on. So everything I invest in is going to be, the NLP and anything, with the mindset and helping women push through their money mindset blocks and whatnot. So, because that's just important for me to serve my clients at the highest capacity that I can.
For you to be in that place of service, to have that knowledge and experience, and also be willing to learn from them, because each each woman that's in the different groups that you have
Yeah.
will have a piece that they may be farther down the path than you. I mean, I think that's
Oh,
the magic
yeah.
of working in groups and collaborating that way.
Yep.
Which
Want to say that I see this balance people are going through right now because of COVID. You know, some people have stopped and
Yeah.
just sort of are waiting for it to end, and you just saying, you gotta be doing something. The world's going, it's changing.
Yeah.
Digital transformation. This is what I'm saying to everybody I see that's sitting on the couch watching all the Netflix shows. And then there's the other side where they've gotten into learning so much that rabbit hole that you talked about. And there is a balance between, you know, learning and strategically. The NLP, you knew you needed that element in your skill for you to be a better coach.
Yeah.
And you found it and you focused on that. And to just find a way, and this is what we're doing with the Grand Connection, is we are focusing on curating the content and bringing in different experts in different areas so you could see. And it's kind of like the buffet. You can see what I need to work on for my business and what fits my needs. And you get a little taste of it. You get some leveling up quickly because Carolyn and I are curating it all. And you could get to that next step. And then you say, okay, I'm going to dive deeper in this. And all along, we're still connecting, creating, collaborating so that's growth strategies that we're still working on in the group and our businesses. So it's interesting. And I love, you know, your journey of when you talked about going from the one to the many, because this is what a lot of us are doing. And this is so integral in what business systems are about. And just as you talked about that journey, you said, oh, well, you got your videos, you get your template, then you added the done for you stuff. And you probably had a bunch of systems that you created around that. Like you saw by working one-on-one, you were able to see what's repeatable. Yeah. And then you moved it to, oh, these repeatable things can be grouped. Where can I group these things and leverage my time? And this can be done in any business. You just have to have that mindset and start thinking, and this mindset of it all. And I know, Carolyn, you're big into you both are big into mindset. You know, my last little question is, okay, as an entrepreneur that I'm not really quite ready with my systems, how do I get my mind in the right framework to be able to make this happen? Fast track me.
Yeah, to put some in your place. So you for me, it's like you want to, if you can't look at it, because again, just like the same way I couldn't see the forest through the trees when I had my own business, it really literally took me stepping almost out of my body and looking down and going from like an aerial view. Like all my branding is all airplane flights and stuff like that, because that's how I see, that's how I tend to work. My brain looks up at like if you're in an airplane and you're looking down at the aerial view, right? It's like I can see all the connections and possibilities, but then I can lower myself. Sounds crazy and woo-woo, but I lower myself down and I can go deeper so that strategy is detailed out more. So I can see big picture and I can see, detail. And I didn't know that was a real skill. And this probably came from me being a business analyst for many years, but it's like, I thought everyone thought like that. So until some people are like, my brain just doesn't work that way. So if your brain doesn't work that way, hire a strategist or someone who can do that in order to help you. And you do it once. And then once you have it, the whole thing is a system in itself, because now you can, once your brain clicks onto systems, it's just it's almost like addicting. It's like, it'll make you go look at your pantry in your kitchen and go, why do I spend, 5 minutes trying to find the chips or whatever? And it's like, chips can be in a category. You can put them in the click clack so that they're see-through. And you really can just my whole brain works like that now. I love it.
I love it. You know what I hate though is when I go away and the kids in my home who are no longer kids, they're in their 20s, but the systems I made are out of system in the kitchen. Where is that?
Yeah. So you start with your business, because that's going to save you the most time and help you focus. When you save time in your business, you now have time to do what you enjoy. And sometimes that's selling or being more visible, or doing the things that only you can do, right? Or sometimes it's like, I need to save time so I can actually go spend some time with my dog, so I can spend time with my kids before they go to college. Time is just, it's everything. And I mean, I'm so psychotic that if I go to a restaurant, and I see inefficient systems, like it drives me bananas. Like, just know once you go to the dark side, that it does show up when I would like one time, not one time, a couple times I went to Starbucks and I just noticed like there's some things they can do to improve. So I like called and after a few times of it happening every time, and it's like very simple. I mean, I do mobile. Oh, I don't. I'm a recovering Starbucks addict. I'm 3.5 weeks off of Starbucks thanks to hypnotherapy and some NLP, which is fantastic. But I used to go like twice a day, and I do my mobile order, go in, and they would have it sitting there, but they would never put a straw next to it. So I would have to wait for minutes, for them to like, can I help you? I'm like, I just need a straw. Oh, okay. I'm like, this is something so simple that people who want to run in, grab their drink and go. So I called and I was like, I'm just curious. Like, I'm an operations person. That's how my brain works. But, is there like a process that you could put where on a mobile order, if they need a straw with their ice drink, you just have it out? She's, oh yeah, we're supposed to do that. Like they're supposed to do that. And I'm like, well, 50% of the time, because I like track it, I don't have a straw and I have to wait for, 5 minutes sometimes to get their attention to get a straw. Oh, okay. I'll have a talk with them at their training meeting or whatever. But it's like, you start really like thinking, how can this be more efficient? Don't be a psycho like me and call the Starbucks manager.
You're helping the world.
I try to help the world.
Yeah, out there helping Starbucks.
All the busy moms, they need their caffeine. I get it.
Well, and you have twins, right?
I do.
You must have got that systems mindset totally ingrained when you had two youngsters in diapers.
In diapers and bottle feeding. I mean,
oh my gosh.
We had it down. The crying would come at 2:30 in the morning and my husband and I would pretend I didn't hear, you didn't hear your turn. Usually like we would decide whose turn it was to get up at night. And we had a whole bottle like feeder system. We had it down. Within 15, 20 minutes, the babies would be fed and back to bed. So.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay. So last little question. And then Carolyn, you're going to go, okay. If I'm just getting started, getting my business to fast track it, and I'm going to set up some systems, what would be, 2 or 3 quickie, easy ones to get me motivated?
Yeah. So some systems that you could set up quickly to get some results.
Yeah.
Well, here's
you mentioned the bio one, like getting your bio and your speaker package or all that. That's really amazing and some good headshots. We'll say that's number one. You already said that one.
Okay, so that one, and then one would just be turn off all the buzzing and dings and chimes in your phone, with your phone and with your computer, because all that is like Pavlov's dog, right? We just and it like takes your attention somewhere else. So I would turn that off and be strategic with your time and check email maybe in the morning, and then don't check it again until like 2 in the afternoon and maybe when you wrap up. So control your time. And that's a great, like, when you're really laser focused at getting something done, you can get it done. It's when we start doing context, shifting, where we're like trying to do 5 things at one time.
Like when I would study for exams, watching Seinfeld when I was
right. And you're like, why did I have to stay up till 2? I mean, really, I could have studied in an hour. It's focus on one thing until you get it done. And from a time management perspective, I think we try to do too much in a day. And then at the end of the day, we're like, well, I didn't even get anything done. I don't even feel like I did anything that's going to move the needle. And it's like, pick 3 things a day that you're going to get done. And some days it could be, reach out to 5 potential prospects or follow-ups, right? I mean, they could be simple things to do. They don't have to be design, upload my entire website, get my CRM going, and like systematize my entire business.
Yeah, when the tasks are too big, you just don't
chunk them down. Chunk
it down, grid.
So so from a time perspective, I think everyone needs a time system where we can be, efficient and effective with our time. And then another system, let's say from a business perspective, I think using and leveraging a tool like, so I believe in batching. So social media, people are like, oh, your Instagram. I'm like, yeah, I do it it takes me maybe 4 hours on a Monday. So I call my Mondays Marketing Monday. So I get my marketing set up and I'll use a tool for Instagram. I use later.com. There's Planoly. There's some great tools out there that are pretty affordable. And I'll just batch up 2 weeks worth of stuff because I'm focused in it, and I can just get it done versus being stressed out every day going, "Ooh, what am I going to post?" So I think marketing is a huge thing that everyone can post or that can batch. And it
Mhm.
may be you want to batch up some emails you're going to send out, batch up social, you know, take 2 hours and create a bunch of graphics on Canva. So take what feels overwhelming and chunk it down and do them in batches. And then a lot of the times you could even put them in folders, and then you can have someone who works on your team that manages it all. So, and I think this is a good system, especially if there's a fear of putting yourself out there, because there's something about batching and just cranking it out, and having some prompts or something you'd ask yourself that allows you just to set it and forget it. So, I mean, to a point where sometimes my Instagram, I'm like, I just kind of treat this like my personal diary sometimes, but that's okay. It makes you human too. Where in the past, I would never do that. I'm like, I can't let everyone know embarrassing things about me. I can't let everyone know I fell in the bathtub when I was trying to drain it yesterday. I mean, it was like these little funny moments are like, oh my gosh, like I want to be able to share this with people. So, marketing for sure, social media, batch, batch, batch. It's a great system. Pick a couple hours, or even if you need to do a full day when you first start, and then you'll get faster and faster at it. So I think between marketing and having your time and your bio and media kit, and just have that in a drive with a link ready to go, and just send it over immediately instead of being like, oh, I got to send her that and it's going to take 20 minutes. It's like, nope, it should take you 3 minutes. I always like in my brain, if it's going to take me longer than about 5 minutes to do it, I just do it right then and there. So we're going to talk about connections, and that's a great one. If I think of, oh, I need to connect Carolyn with, my friend, so and so, it's like rather than thinking about it and letting it hang there heavy for me, like, oh, I got to do that, or I'll write it in my list, another thing to do. I just do it right there, and just so I call it. My husband can tell. He's like, you can close that window, because I just open up all these windows in my brain, and he's like, close that window. So that's what I do. I just crank it. If it takes less than 5 minutes, that's my system. Just get it done, versus letting it hang.
Love it. Love it. And, like doing that is that sense of accomplishment, and it
Mhm.
actually builds your confidence. I
Yes.
think,
Yeah.
it's like, done. I can
Yeah.
check that off.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I'm definitely, I don't know if you both are like this, but I'm the type, I love checklists, but I understand not everyone does. But for me, even after I do something that wasn't on the list, I'll go back and write it just so I can check it off, because I get such a sense of accomplishment. And then I'll go and be like, oh, I was so productive today. I find like joy in that.
And I love taking, like, because I do scribble things on paper all the time,
Yeah,
because I'm
me
talking,
too.
because I'm a visual learner. So if I just got to get it down, and
Yep.
most of it's garbage, but at the end of the week, I take all those papers and I reconsolidate it all into one sort of list. And most of it, I crumple up the paper and done. Done.
Me
And
too.
it's
Me
just so
too.
much fun.
Put it in the, yeah, I'm like, ooh, it's a joy when I can have like some Post-it notes, and I'm like, and I exit out even on the Post-it note, and then
And I
done.
sometimes do that on the plane too. Like I've gathered everything up into my bag, and then then I'm here with the flight attendant comes by, and I have this pile of paper. I
Yep.
hand them any garbage. Oh yeah, I've been cleaning my my desk.
I know. Oh,
Yeah.
I went and finally got my last iPad, it has the Apple Pencil with it. So then my whole concept was, oh, I can just use, because I'm the type, I have like 500 spiral notebooks, right? And those cheap ones for like 50 cents. And I'm like, I don't even know what's in them. Half of it is just like, I'm a visual learner too. So I'm just
Well, you
writing,
did. That's why you did the business map. You
drawing
wanted it
it.
in a map.
Yeah. Yeah. And so now I've got the iPad, but I still like to handwrite.
Same. I did the very same thing. I got an iPad, and I'm not using it. But like everything's gonna be digital.
Yes.
That was it. But
We're
I
gonna save the
like the
tree.
paper. My
Yeah,
desk, if you
I
were to
know.
look at it, is actually a bunch of papers right now. But lovely, thank you. And now, Carolyn, I want to hear more about your section. Collaborate.
Well, collaboration, I think, is so critical in business, Tara, and you live this and you know it.
Yep.
And my question to you is, what characteristics do you think are the most important in creating strategic alliances, in creating those power partners that you work together with to succeed in your business?
Ooh, you guys have awesome questions. So, for me, it's being in alignment with your core values. And, there's been core values are for me in a business map are something we do in the foundation. And a lot of times people are like, why are we doing this or this and that? And I'm like, well, how you live your core values from a personal perspective and how you run your business, I think they need to be in alignment, because if they're not, something's going to feel off. You're going to be like, this business isn't, it was probably like my website business. Oh, I want more time. Okay. Well, I literally exchanged a job for doing something at much less money. And when you sit down and you do your core values and you live in those, then you can also pretty quickly tell. And I say this because I've had strategic partnerships that have went south quickly. And even though my gut was like, oh no, she's whatever, but like I was always the person on the receiving end that would deliver, and then and they wouldn't, and then I felt bad, like, so, but what I found was when you're out of sorts, or if things start to, and this is in partnerships, this is in clients, this is in people who are on your team, partners, all this stuff. It's like, it's usually because your core values are out of alignment. So I would say before you start with something, it's like ask them, what are your core values, or what are your values you live by and run your business by? And if they don't know, hopefully they'll do it. But you can share yours too. And if someone's is very focused on money, 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 profit, and yours are like about helping change the world and not so much, it might be a mismatch. So a lot of it is, and then once you do it enough, you start really getting and just listening to your own intuition about it. And sometimes it steers you wrong, and sometimes then you learn. And then next time, the best tip that I had, because I had somebody I referred over $100,000 worth of business to, and she was a friend and whatnot. And it wasn't until I sat down, I was like, you know what, she's never even introduced me to anyone or sent me a lead or anything. And why do and which is like, it took over $100,000 for that to even dawn on me, because I don't track it like that. That's not what I do. But it was because someone had came back to me that hired her that I didn't know about, but the person hired her because, I endorsed her basically. And so it was my reputation and my brand on the line. And the girl didn't even tell me she had hired her, and it completely went south, like to like legal stuff. And I'm like, oh man, I need to like rethink this and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is gut. I think other things are having an agreement ahead of time, even if it's just a simple email that, hey, this is what we agree to do. And if roles and responsibilities are important as well. And if things start getting wacky or strange, it's about using communication to like get it either back on track or say, hey, this has been fun, but let's part ways as friends. Yeah.
Yeah. And then let it go.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. I think every strategic partnership that
Mhm.
you create, whether it be with a client
Yep.
or with a referral partner, or with, like, Susan and I work together. We have for the last year, intimately over the last year, and communication is critical,
Yes.
like through the whole entire, and expectations and follow through.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
having those guidelines all set up is incredible. I
Mhm.
wanted to circle back on one concept that you shared, because it's come to me 3 times as you were speaking. And that is that a lot of businesses don't realize the value that they represent.
Right.
And you said, well, I didn't even realize that this is what I represented, and this is the impact I'm going to have on people's lives. And I think what happens in your groups, which happens in our groups too, is people begin to realize that core value that they
Mhm.
represent, and then can show up making such a bigger difference in owning what that is and
Yep.
realizing. Because you said, well, I didn't even realize that I was really good at that.
Mhm.
Isn't everybody good at that?
Mm.
And no, they're not.
Yeah.
Right. So that's your gift. The way I look at it, that's your gift to serve all these women in business,
Yeah. Thank
which
you.
is
And
powerful.
that it's a hard lesson for a lot of people to learn. It's our gifts are usually on the tip of our nose where we can't see them. And and then what happens is it's so easy for us. what your perfect business is really what is really easy and allows you just to go with the flow, and you don't have to fight a current or anything. And it's, but what happens is we start questioning our worth because it is so easy. And we start going, well, that only takes me 10 minutes. So why would anyone ever pay me $1,000 for that or whatever, you know? And it's like,
Yeah.
and it's because, well, that's your gift. And yeah, so that's why and that's honestly why I created my accelerator program, which is the group kind of done with you map with my group coaching program to get people from 0 to 100,000, because, my heart just goes out to women who are really struggling with valuing their time and owning their worth and whatnot. So a lot of that becomes that personal development journey. I mean, I've said it a million times, but it's like, if you ever want to know your insecurities as a woman or just a person in general, start a business, because they'll come flying to the top. It's like crazy. So it's just as much a personal development journey, which I'm so grateful. That's been like, to me, like one of the most amazing parts of having my own business is you learn so much. And yeah, and it's just super, just super achieving, and it just feels really good.
I call it the grand adventure. Everything's
Yes.
grand here. Everything's
Yeah.
grand here. We have the grand connection, our virtual networking. This is the grand potential. But I truly believe that is a personal and a professional development journey.
Yeah.
And the magic, I think, is discovering more and more of who you are and the value that you represent in the
Yeah.
world, and how you can serve that, like you said, with ease, with grace,
Oh,
and
yeah.
also with great joy.
Yeah.
I mean, the sense of fulfillment that we feel when we really show up
Yeah.
to serve in the way that we're meant to. It's easier, it's simpler, it takes less energy, but
Yeah.
also the fulfillment level is scaled way up too.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. And you nailed it. Honestly, Carolyn, is like, I used to think that making money needed to be hard and that I had to work really hard for every dollar. And and I know sometimes, and people who are listening, like, oh, easy for you all to say, like, you have clients, you got a business, blah, blah, blah. I'm struggling to get my first couple people. And it wasn't until I really kind of let go of, I'm not saying I don't have expectations of myself, but it's kind of, I let go of the thought around needing to work so hard to deserve, right? Because there's so much abundance. There's plenty of, clients to go around. There's plenty of opportunity. We just have to, be ready to receive it. And when you have those systems in place, to tie back to systems, like, it's just plug them in, right? Plug in your new customers to your systems. And I mean, it's all it is. Like, we want to think of our businesses. I mean, I don't like to use the word as a factory, but especially on the delivery side, it's like we want our customers to experience the joy of working with us. So create a system that produces that joy for them, and then rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and, I mean, running a business it's not for everybody, right? And it's not sometimes the sexiest thing in the world. It's just a lot of rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. So
yeah, and I agree, but also it's the willingness to do that.
mhm.
So you
Yeah.
have to really let go of some control here too.
Oh, yeah.
You have to
Oh,
be open.
that's a whole podcast episode. Control. Yeah.
It inspires both Susan and I. We are taking systems concept on for the Grand Connection with a purpose and a passion, and we're determined this year is our year for systems.
Yes.
This is our year for systems.
That's awesome.
And we want to inspire businesses around the world to incorporate that. So how can we have those folks that come to the Grand Connection and who are listening right now connect with you, get a hold of you in regards to next steps on how they can find out more?
Perfect. Thank you. So mine's pretty simple. I mean, my website is terrabohlmann.com. So TERRA Bohlmann, BOHLMANN. So 2 N's.com. And then they could go to /apply. And if you go to terrabohlmann.com/apply, you can book a conversation with me. There's a intake, some questions I'll ask you just so I can better serve you. And then you get access to my calendar, and we can have a zero obligation 30-minute conversation. I will continue to do these until I can't do them anymore because of time capacity. But I get such joy in being able to talk one-on-one. And maybe this goes back to my one-on-one coaching, but it just, I carve out a couple days of my week just to have conversations with entrepreneurs to find out where they want to go in their business. And I promise them that I'll give them their next best business step. And if they want to work with me, they can ask me. Like I don't do a sales pitch or anything like that. It's like, I want to come at everything with service. So yeah, terrabohlmann.com/apply. And I'm like obsessed with Instagram. So my handle is just at Terra Bohlmann. And, if they want to send me a DM or whatever, like I love it. Like I love being able to have conversations with entrepreneurs.
It's inspiring, isn't it, to hear
Yeah.
them and where they are, and just that whole energy of willingness to grow and learn. And I'm with you.
Yeah, I know. And
Awesome.
especially in a day and age where I feel like it's like a badge of honor for some coaches that are like, I don't do one-on-ones anymore. I don't talk to people. I don't do consultations. My team does it for me. I'm like, I like to keep my finger on the pulse and what's going on. And if I can give someone one little tweak that'll make a huge difference for them, hey, like that's some good juju for the universe. So it's okay with me. So
It really is. And also, it keeps you with a pulse on what's happening out there in the marketplace and where they are and what they need and what they
Yep.
want. And you can take that information and
Mhm.
fine tune your business back. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just a circle of learning on both sides of the fence, like you said. So
Absolutely.
thank you
Yeah.
from the Grand Connection and the Grand Potential for spending the time with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been such a joy. You two are awesome. Thanks for what you do too.